Today, the subject is going to be a little bit on the demonic. So many people go to this just almost immediately. I guess whatever they've heard. To me, I don't go to the devil for information. Just recently on another social media, I saw a trailer of Biden's laptop, a movie coming out. And I took it so quick and I put it up. And then when I thought about it, the Lord checked me on it and said, take it down. And then he told me why. He said, if a man thinks a certain thing is a sin, to him it is a sin. And I don't believe in engaging in such things to even watch them. And that trailer, even though I didn't really watch it, it's not of God. And I don't believe in going to the devil for information about God. And so I told them on social media, I deleted it immediately, and I said, I don't go to the devil for what you already know. I mean, the trailer shocked me, but even when I heard about a laptop being on the internet, I refused to go to it. I didn't want to see anything evil. I don't want my eyes to behold the vile. I don't watch certain movies for that. I don't need to. Even those that speak out against me and stuff, I won't watch them. To me, that is bad. It's wrong. I just won't put my body and my mind and my spirit in front of it. So what I did is I took it down immediately, and I told everybody exactly why I took it down, because I believe in being honest. I don't like to hide anything. There's just no way I would hide what I did. It's like going into a house and breaking something, and you think nobody knows about it. You hide it. It's crazy. People do that, but it's a crazy thing to do. Anyway, I come across somebody that had a misunderstanding for what I said once before, and I want to make it clear in case anybody else had that misunderstanding. I had talked about how God had led me into feeling and seeing what was coming in the future and how they were going to work upon the mind of the Christian and try to get in that mind and take what they believed was salvation with Christ and just try to get it out of the mind. And they would try to reach them in such a way, whether it be with drugs or whatever. Guaranteed it won't last long. Okay, they would have to, it's just like the blood that they claim to change. They would have to, in order for it to be permanent, they would have to do something far more drastic than that. And even then, they would lose out because they're not really changing you. And you watch all these movies about zombies and all this other stuff, they convince you there's certain things they can do. But according to the makeup that God has in your body, there's certain things they can't do. And one of the things they cannot do is cause you to accept a demon. Oh, they can, when I had reactions to drugs, and I had adverse reactions to many of them, I saw things and I would laugh because I knew it was a drug. Immediately, I knew it wasn't a demon, and I knew it wasn't imagination. I understood it was a drug, and that's why I laughed at it, because I just waited until the drug wore off and then told the doctor the reaction that it gave me. And they said it's an allergy reaction. So there's no way these things can do this to you. And God doesn't want you afraid. God does not want you afraid of the unknown. And this is why people search out the devil and want information from him to understand what is going on. It's unbelievable to me. This is what they do. And the Lord had really, truly taken me to places to understand where not to go. And it was as simple as that. And what was going to happen is people who only have head knowledge, in other words, they know that the word, they understand it to a point, but they have no real experience with God as a reality in their heart. They have no, as far as they're concerned, it's like a dead word. It doesn't do anything. It's just there. Well, those people can literally lose what little bit they have because there's no real power behind the word. There has to be power behind the word. In order for people to be able to reach other people, you have to have Jesus behind the word. You have to have his presence there to be able to lead someone into all truth. Being able to say it is not enough because there's nothing in here. You can say it till doomsday and you're only repeating the dead word. It's like so many people I've seen in deliverances. They would read the word, not really believing it, not really accepting it, not understanding it. And we're talking 50 years ago before I learned how to overcome Satan. And this is the kind of thing they would do. And I got completely out of it because I knew it was not of God. And this is what they would train people to go into a room and they would pray this way and a certain way, and you would be delivered, which I don't think that that's how God works. Two cannot walk together lest they be agreed. So if there is a demonic force that troubles you, it's because you're fellowshipping with it. And how I say you're fellowshipping with it, you believe that it can do that to you. You believe, number one, it can deceive you. You believe it can hurt you. You can believe it troubles you. You can believe all those things, and you invite it through fear. Fear invites things. Really, it does. And I know of a young lady that, she had witches all around her that had no power over her, but she had no idea. And so she was praying practically night and day. And when she realized that if you read in Job that God gave Satan permission to touch Job's life, that was Old Testament. In the New Testament, there is nowhere that I can find that God gave permission to any demon to possess a Christian. I've just never seen it. God never gave that. The invite comes from the fearful, the unbelief, the problem. And so when I spoke to the woman, I could feel all the things she was feeling. You can feel all of that in the spirit. I mean, every last one of the things that were tormenting her, which was very strong and very powerful on her life. In a second, it could be rebuked. But I left it there to wait to see, to lead her to do it, not me. And so I taught her. The Lord said, they don't have that power. God gave no demonic force the power to touch you. Not mentally, not emotionally, not physically. And as long as he doesn't do that, you have power over every one of those witches. Every one. Not one, not two, not three, not four. Every one of them. I don't care. How many live in you have power over it. The second she received that, the second she believed it, everything disappeared. Everything. She had just absolute perfect peace come down upon her. Because God opened up her understanding and made her realize that he doesn't do this. He does not allow the devil to harass his children. They allow him to do it. And their fears and their unbelief practically invite him. Really, it's what it is. If you read the book of Job in the beginning where the Lord said that he was a perfect man and hated evil. And he told and bragged about him to Satan and said he was perfect. But God knew there was one thing wrong with Job. And that's why he allowed Satan to tempt him. And it comes in the verse where Job says, "The thing I feared the most has come upon me." So that means he was afraid of losing all he had. He was afraid of losing his family. He was afraid. That's why he was always sacrificing. He was afraid that his children would not serve God. He was always doing it out of fear. And so by the time the enemy got done with him by permission of God, he no longer had that fear. So I'm telling you that don't fear the enemy. Don't fear don't listen to the garbage that tells you. There's one particular person that really believes that drugs can infiltrate you and they can cause you to receive demons and the electricity can do it, and none of that can touch you. None. What can touch you is the permission you give to the enemy. That's what can touch you, is the permission you give through fear, through unbelief. You can pray over your children before they go to school. You and your husband are serving God. You know God, and you can pray over them, but you're afraid. You are praying because you're terrified that somebody is going to influence them or hurt them. Well, that fear has a draw. You might as well invite Satan to say, "Come on." You don't pray and ask God for that because you're afraid. You pray and ask God because he promised. You know that he will do that for you because he promised. He promised your children are holy. Holy means, Satan, get your hands off. This belongs to Jesus Christ. Get your filthy hands off of my child. In the name of Jesus, they will never give in to the enemy. No one will ever have that power over them. Your attitude towards it, what you're thinking, it's like in a reverse of what you've been doing. In one sentence, you're begging. In the other way, you're believing. There's a difference. People, they go before God and they say, "Oh, be with me here and be with me there and take care of everything." And then the next day they get up, they pray this exactly the same thing. Well, he heard you the first time. So the second time you go before him and say, "Lord, I thank you because your promises are true. This is what you will do in my life. You promised me that if I asked you for anything, you would be there. And so now I know I asked you, Lord, and between you and me, I know you're there. And I thank you, Lord. You took care of me." And I'm just thinking, I'm laughing because I'm thinking of I remember when Y2K came. I don't know how many of you remember that, but I was sitting in a doctor's office with people were talking about Y2K, and they were terrified. It was like almost the time for it to turn over, and people were really, really scared. And I remember talking to a person that was coming there to buy and sell drugs to the doctor. And I told him, I said, I have no fears of none of that because I don't believe it's going to happen. That's number one. The second thing is the same God that took care of me yesterday is the same God that will take care of me today, and the same God that will take care of me tomorrow. The one that held my hand through cancer as they told me I was to die 37 years ago is the one that held my hand through lupus and they gave me up for dead when I was 57 years old, is the same one that pulled me through believing I was going to die with all of those allergies, with open heart surgery. The same God that took care of me through all of that, where I had that hole in my belly that they said was the size of a gunshot wound to the belly. They were positive all of these times I was going to die. There's no way you're going to live. They even wanted to see me just to see me alive. So the same God that took care of me then is going to take care of me today. Same God that delivered me of all my enemies over here is the same God that's going to deliver me of all my enemies here. And he's the same God that's going to do it tomorrow. Because he said he will never leave me nor forsake me. He will always be with me, even unto the end of the world. And that God is the same God you have. The very same one. Like I said, go and find Jesus Christ in the Word. Don't look for anything else for a while. Just search for him. Talk to him. Be with him. Let him know how you're thinking and feeling. Let him know what you're afraid of and what you're not afraid of. He knows it all anyway. But he loves to hear from you. He does. How many times in my life he said, tell me about it. You never brought that before me. Take it to me. He wanted it to be real to us. That once we do that, we are assured. See, it's an experience. It's an experience with him. You can't have that experience with your neighbor. You can't have it with your friends. The experience you have with them won't do you any good. The one you need is the one that is at your bedside. He's the one that gets in the car with you. He's the one that goes everywhere with you. That's an experience with him. He's for real. He's not dead. He's not, oh, they don't do that anymore. God don't do that no more. No. Well, you want to live that way? Live that way. Your time comes. You don't have any miracles. That's you. But I believe there's so many of you that know that he has already done wonderful miracles in your life. He helped you through this. He helped you through that. He brought you through this, and you know it. And you know it. And you know that you didn't deserve it. We all know we don't deserve it. All of us. None of us is worthy. Not a one of us. We all know that. But he did it anyway. He did it because he loves us, but most of all, because he promised to. And the things that I did when I was younger with God, I would never do today. The way I treated God, the way I misunderstood, all of those experiences, and he let me know constantly, just like he's going to let you know. I understand all of the pain that you had through people, especially people who had knowledge. People would look down their nose on you, and they didn't care whether you suffered, whether you lived, whether you died, whatever you went through. They knew, quote and unquote, better. They knew everything. You couldn't tell them nothing. Not that I tried. I was trying to live, trying to overcome my problems. And God pulled me through them all in spite of everything that was done against me. Well, that's where you are. That's why it's so important to forgive them. That's why it's so important to forget. That's why it's so important to face every day and look at them and say, hey, if you have to face them, I'm not talking about thinking about somebody, none of that. It's out of the mind. But I'm talking about what you have to face every day. That's why you need to look at them as the one that Jesus Christ died for. No matter who they are, no matter where they are, I look at every man, every woman as the one Jesus Christ died for. There's not room for anything else. I may talk about certain things that are said, certain things that are, it doesn't have anything to do with forgiveness. It has to do with relating to people and resonating with people that are going through the same thing and they don't quite know how to handle it. And I'm telling them how to handle it. Be forgiving. Be forgiving with all your heart and desire to see that one saved. That's what I just put the video up about my husband. Through the years, if I was not able to look at him like that, I don't know where we would be. But I have to tell you, if he was not able to look at me like that, I don't know where we would be. Because he had to be as forgiving as I was. And he had to be as understanding as I was. And until we came to that place where we could respect one another, respect how we thought and felt and believed, that didn't come easy. I'm laughing because I think of some of the women, I've said it before, the very things that have attracted us to our husbands are the very things in selfishness we try to destroy. Now, I'm talking to you about 50 years ago, being, 20 years old, uh, not understanding what was going on, not understanding him, and just doing whatever I learned at home to do. And that was violent, and that was fighting. That's all I knew. I learned when I found Jesus Christ, he taught me how to love. But at the same time, he had to learn how to love. And he did. I wouldn't trade him for all the money in the world, because that man is worth his weight in gold. And God knows I mean that with all my heart. How many people can say, wives can say that if their husband passes through the hall and you're sitting here, if he hears a strange noise, he stops dead and comes over and says, "Are you all right?" I know of women that were married for a long time and would say, "I wish my husband would do that." But that's what he does. That's who he is. If he's in the living room and I'm in the bedroom and he hears a sound and he thinks I might be crying or whatever, he'll stop. "Are you all right?" There was a woman who was on the phone, and no matter what you said to her, she would not listen. And she decided she was going to tell me I didn't know what I was talking about, which was fine with me. That's her opinion. She's entitled to it. We live in a free country. But unfortunately for her, he heard her. "You just don't do that with me. You, you want to get somebody's back up?" He immediately said, "Hang up on her. She doesn't deserve you to talk to her. Don't speak to her anymore. I've seen you spend hours with her trying to help her. Hang up on her." I wouldn't. I didn't, because I'm not like that. But he was getting ready. I had to stop him. He was getting on the phone. He was going to tell this woman off. Well, immediately when she heard him, she backed up, and she never did that again. One day there was a man who knocked on the door, and he was trying to tell me and read me the riot act as to why he thought I don't know what I'm talking about with God. Because he had quote unquote knowledge. He raised his voice at me. And my husband, he just rose up. "You don't touch me. You don't raise your voice ever to me." And fortunately for the man, he had just left. And my husband looked at me and he says, "Why didn't you call me?" Don't ever let anybody talk to you like that. You don't deserve it. I rest my case. You see what God did? So many people would come up to me, even his family, and say, everybody knows. He will defend you. Nobody can say one word against you. I didn't know that. But you know what? That is a covering. That is one that goes like this and protects you. And this, nothing can touch you. That is what he was called to do. He does it better than a lot of preachers do. He protects me completely. He's not out there with somebody else going, she this and she that. Oh, years ago he used to. But not now. There's been such a marvelous, wonderful experience with God, with him, that the joy of the Lord is our strength. In January, it's going to be 59 years. And these are the happiest years of my life with my husband. This month, he's going to be 85. And these are the most joyful, happiest, outside of the times we were fishing together. Because we used to do that 3 times a week and on Lake Erie. But I'm telling you, when you look at a person, even if they're swearing at you and they're hating you, and you pray and you know God wants that person saved, like the Lord had me say, when I prayed for him, I think this was his big turning point. When I prayed loud enough for him to hear, and I called out Satan and I said, you are not taking my husband to hell. And I did it loudly. I don't want to wake him up now. That's why I'm not doing it loudly, because he just fell asleep. But I did it loudly. My husband's going to heaven with me. You cannot have him. From that day on, he was a changed man, because he realized he wasn't going to go to hell. A lot of them think when you're very spiritual, whether you're the man or the woman, because I know of men that have spouses that act like some of these men do. They mock their Christianity. They belittle them. They bring them down. They do everything to bring them to their level. Everything. Because they're terrified they're going to hell. Because they look at that man and they say, hey, he belongs to God, and I'm not there. I don't think I could ever do that. And people need to realize God didn't expect them to be like you. God does not expect any man to be like you. He expects that man or that woman to be like him. That's wisdom. That's love. Love covers a multitude of sin. If you make up your mind to love someone, no matter what they've said, no matter what they've done, no matter who they are, I don't think there's very many people that can resist the love of God. I really don't. If they have any kind of good in them, like my husband did, there's so much inside of him that was great, that God had given him. If you got any kind of anything inside of him that comes from God, they will respond. But if they've given themselves up completely to Satan, it won't affect them a bit. They won't, I know better. I am everything. That's their attitude. That's the way they'll stay. She'll never convince me. But, the Lord knows. But there are those of you that do suffer under the mighty hand of a controller. You have power over that controller. You don't have to use your mouth to have power over it. Because some men, they can't help it. Some, they have to control. Even I've seen women, they got to control everything. They got to control the kids. They got to. Control is a work of witchcraft. Can't do it. It's not God. You have to let go and let God. You have to let go. You've got to shut this mouth and let God take over. Because you're standing in the way. When this mouth is going, you're standing in the way. Then God can't do anything because you're in there mucking it up, you know? M-U-C-K-I-N, mucking. That's what I say about my telephone microphone. It messes it up so bad and puts wrong words in there. So I hope this small lesson has helped you, encouraged you, and strengthened you. I hope it brings you to a place of understanding that I do not believe that any force can come and overtake you as long as you have God. You have that experience with Jesus Christ and you know him as your Savior where no one else is. No one can walk and talk with you. No one can be that to you. They can't take it away. They can't. The lie, they can harvest your soul. Oh, I didn't watch it, but I seen, you know, they put it all over the internet that they could do this. That's all a lie. They can't do that to you. They can put you to sleep and get this out of your... No, they can't. No, they can't. Your spirit is different. Your spirit was designed to go to heaven with God. That was the design of it. One of the most horrible things that could happen to your spirit is to be separated from God. That is the most horrible thing that can happen to it. You think it's going to hell, but being separated from God is, and I've experienced that too, where, wow, in just a few seconds, the Lord let me feel that and said, this can happen. And it can happen in an instant. When I decide that you've gone too far, not meaning me, but anybody has gone too far, when I decide that, I can take you right there and make it look like a heart attack. Now, some of you are still searching out how to overcome certain sins. But those sins that you're so concerned about, know this, you'll be free of them. God will take you through. Don't be afraid. Don't be upset about it. Tell God you're waiting on him to set you free. You know the day will come. It's like this eyesight. I know the day is going to come where it'll be healed. So far, God's been using it, and it's really been great because my husband reads all those testimonies. And I've never seen a heart so touched. I've never seen him just melt before God the way he does now, with how many people have expressed what God has done in their life just by listening to these videos. So I know that God is having his way, not me, it's him. It is a good day.